And now, welcome to this session.
Our topic on data-driven marketing explores how businesses can leverage customer data and analytics to create more targeted and effective marketing strategies. Bringing 24 years of telecom industry experience, our next speaker has held leadership roles at Globe Telecom, where he delivered key foundational builds for the B2B business. He has a master's in technology management from UP and is pursuing a master's in data science from AIM. Let's bring to the spotlight the Director for Business Consulting at Globe Business, Mr. Karl Marx Rubia.
Hello. Yeah, good morning. So let me upload my deck. All right. Slideshow. So good morning, everyone. So yeah, so I hope you're doing fine. So I'm excited. I'm very excited for this morning because, again, uh, as one of the upcoming data scientists, okay, I'm very excited to impart the knowledge that I have and the learnings that I have around data. So this for quite a while. So this has been my advocacy. So aside from cybersecurity, to be able to impart knowledge to developers like you. All right. So my topic for today is all about fueling innovation and targeting the right audience with the data-driven insights. So why is this important? So as we all know, we are in a state wherein we are in a digital revolution, right? So digital revolution meaning things have changed, especially after pandemic, right? So after pandemic, the way we do business uh, basically revolves around data. So our ability right now to be able to derive the insight from data, making data-driven decision, is now a must. Before, it is just something as good as an option, but right now it's no longer an option for us because if we want to stay afloat, especially for companies to stay afloat and stay competitive, they must be able to make sure that they were able to deliver the right service, the right service, and then they were able to do it in a personalized way because customers right now become more knowledgeable. They know what they want, and they know there are a lot of options where they can get it. Thus, data-driven insights is very critical. So right now, so what are the challenges faced by not just software developers actually, but other customers or other B2B business owners? So number one, being able to identify the right target market. Right. So it's hard, right? Who will be your target market? So the tendency is okay, I will advertise to anyone, to everyone, and then I will spend a lot of money doing that. Right. So if you're somebody who's just starting a business, it's hard, right? Because you won't be able to compete. You won't be able to spend that much compared to other big businesses. So number two, being able to obtain the right customer insight that could help refine your offering. So for example, uh, as you're aware, diba, before we talk about agile. So when we talk about agile, it's all about continuous improvement. But if you don't know what to improve, diba, it's hard because at the end of the day, your customers are the users. So especially if your customers are the mass market, it's hard, right? So being able to get the insight because you will not cater for all. It's impractical and you won't be able to spend for it. And of course, the lack of timely real-world feedback for product performance, which is very important because, as I've said, we need to react fast because customers will always have an option. And then number four, retaining users and keeping them engaged. So I guess this is tied up to making your customers loyal. So when they see that you're able to do the top two that I mentioned, for example, you were able to react fast and being able to adjust. Sorry, can you hear me now? Okay. So if you're able to react fast and being able to adjust quickly to the customers, then you would be able to keep them engaged to your products. Okay. So that's why in Globe, what we did was we established Inkero. Right. So Inkero is one of our companies. So later on, I'll show the different portfolio of Globe. One of the companies that we established focus on data. Right. So when I say focus on data, so basically we maintain huge number of data sets coming from millions of customers that we have. All right. So from the largest and broadest collection of data in the Philippines, so we were able to extract it across our different companies. So later on, you'll see that. And then aside from that, we're able to get, we're able to integrate that with other third-party data. And then with that, we were able to explore millions of unique customer profile coming from 29 million mobile IDs and then 54 million we were able to produce 54 million hyper-targeted SMS. And then from there, we were able to extract around 600, more than 600 attributes right now, and it continues to grow. So you see how huge the data that we maintain and we were able to extract. So briefly, so this is how the Globe portfolio looks like right now. Okay, so as you can see, we've cut across. So before we were known as a connectivity provider, but right now more than that, we've expanded our portfolio across ad tech, fintech, ITSS, ITS services, climate tech, and all, and of course the big data. Because in Globe, we believe that there will always be a problem, and that's what we're searching for. What are the things? What are the problems that our customer encounter that we ourselves also encounter? And then from there, since we are serving B2B, we find ways by which we can improve, help those customers, and ultimately improve the lives of our Filipino, because those B2B customers would be able to help their customers as well. So in Inkero, for example, so we use machine learning. So I'm sure you've heard a lot of this right now. So machine learning is an algorithm that we use to be able to process, to teach. So we have a model, okay, running under a machine learning algorithm, and that's where we process the data, and that's how we do the, for example, pattern recognition, being able to identify the trends. So later on, I'll walk you through the different solutions that we're able to come up with to help our customers. So the first solution that we have is what we call the audience builder. So in this, for example, if the customer have their own customer base, all right, so whether that's existing or former customers, okay, they can load it to our platform, and our platform would be able to identify and extract the different demographics, purchase intent. So basically, these are the different attributes that we were able to mine, right? So that's why we call it, as you would remember the fast around, okay, data is the new oil. Data is the new oil because in oil, we all know that. That's why that was the analogy, because in oil, if you are not able to mine it properly, you will not be able to extract that oil and make it usable. So even if, for example, you get all of the data, yes, you mine it, and then you're not able to process it properly, it's of no use. So in Globe, what we did is we mine the data, we process it, we put it in a model so that it will be able to extract these, for example, attributes, the demographics, purchase intent, interest, points of interest, and then be able to come up with a dashboard. So this dashboard will be used by our customers to be able to come up with insights. So basically, this is what we call the descriptive analytics, right? So from these insights, so these are the, if we look at it in more detail, so the demographics, for example, what are the life stage, what are the gender, affluence, home location, interest, even to the point of who are those customers that are, so among your base, who are those that use a particular type of device, and then the different persona, so that if ever you're a customer or a B2B business owner, or for example, a software developer, this will help you, okay, with your existing customer base to come up with something that's tailor fit to your customer. And this continues to evolve as we gather more data, we load it to the model. So later on, I will answer all your questions. So just keep them coming. So this is one of the use cases that we have. So during the pandemic, we are all aware that, we have a learning management system, right? So everybody is online, the students are online. But as pandemic restrictions slowly easing up at that time, okay, so one of the customers approached us on how they can, using data, how they can extract and be more competitive and identify who their remaining target customers were. So in here, we were able to test and use our audience builder. So that's the existing customer, and try to extract, okay, who are the remaining target customers that they have. So from there, we were able to mine it. We were able to profile around 378,000 unique personas, right? And their selected demographics. And then from there, we were able to release targeted campaigns. So that's very important because you won't spend, so much money being able to blast to everyone, right? So as a result, it's 140% uplift in terms of ad performance. So the effect of the ads so it became more effective because it reached the target customer. So the outcome was very positive. Somehow the efficiency, right? So this is one of my favorite solution, or the footfall analytics, because footfall analytics basically look at so we have the third party data, we call that the GPS. So you're all aware, all our phones have GPS, right? So we were able to buy that, and from there we were able to identify, for example, what are the areas with high growing population would have a very good potential. For example, if you want to establish a restaurant or any store for that matter, this solution will be very helpful because it analyzes the foot traffic, right, up to the dwell time of a customer, right? So this is a very powerful tool because all you have to do is you just need to identify the polygon. So we call that polygon in a certain area in the map or certain perimeter, and then we'll run that to the system, and the system will return for example, the population density, the dwell time. So this is the sample. So a restaurant in BGC approached us, and then the client wants to establish a new restaurant. So they want to know, so number one, the effectiveness of their campaign, at what time of the week, right? And who are those that are coming into the restaurant, so that whatever their campaign here internally will be targeted to those. So what happened is that, so they give us the targeted polygon, and these are the results. So they observed that the campaign yielded around 30% more visits versus the pre-opening period, because instead of guessing, trying to having somebody to count the foot traffic, right? So we were able to do the actual actual data, so based on the GPS data. And we were able to profile those visitors. Okay. And then along with that, so if you have, so basically the one that I talked through earlier are those that are already existing customers to you. What if I want new sets of customers? We can help you there as well, because leveraging on the huge customer data that we have, we can build, okay, what we call a lookalike modeling. So lookalike modeling, so this is the other way around. So earlier, what you will be the one to give us your customer base. This time, you will be the one to give us the attribute that you want. So that's why we look at we call it as lookalike. Because okay, you approach me and say, Carl, I want the following attributes. So for example, working moms, uh, what else? Those that have, for example, newborn babies, something like that, so that I will have targeted campaigns with them. So from there, we would be able to do that, profile that, and then we will be the one to release the targeted ad campaign, because we cannot share to you the phone number because that's against the data privacy law. All right. So we will be the one to help broadcast the campaign for you. So we will just agree what will be the content. But we call this the programmatic ads. Could be through Facebook, through Gcash. So we have a lot of connections across different channels that we can use, that you can leverage on through us. All right. And this is the newest product, the newest solution that we have. So we call this uh, credibility scoring. So credibility scoring. So if you are aware on how the banks do it, diba? So whenever you ask for a loan, automatic, the banks would require, or the credit bureau would require documents. So what about for those that are unbanked? So for those that are unbanked, so this could be an option for the lending companies, so that they would be able to increase, okay, have more customers, because possibly those unbanked customers, for some reason, they just don't believe in banks, for example, or they are OFW, so they don't have bank accounts here, but they have the capacity to spend, but they cannot be evaluated. So here, again, using the machine learning algorithm and the rich data that we have, we would be able to provide the customer's trustworthiness and evaluate them accordingly based on their behavior, on how, for example, they use the internet, their purchase behavior. And by the way, all of these are customers that opted in. So we don't include those customers. And so far, we have a lot of customers that opted in. So we use that as a reference. Almost all our customers opted in. And these are safe because we adhere to the data privacy law in terms of providing the attributes. And what we provide are the attributes, and not the person, not the PII. That's directly attributed to the person. All right. So basically, as you can see, these are the four solutions. The four solutions that I showed you are samples of what we have, and what we continue to develop to help our customers, right, come up with a data-driven analysis and insight that they can use to be able to grow the business. All right. So as you can see from here, you would appreciate the power of data if you were able to mine it properly, transform it in such a way that you will be able to gain a lot of insights. And that's where Globe Business as a partner would be able to help you. So aside from saying that we have the one-stop shop, of course we have that. Everybody has that. Dedicated account manager, flexible payment, etc. Well, I think what we can give you is our experience. So we have a very good data and analytics practice. We have we manage, I think, the biggest data here in the Philippines. Right? So you're sure that everything is protected and adhere with the necessary regulations, because uh, we as a service provider follows a strict regulatory compliance. So we are sure that if you partner with us, we would be able to provide you with the right solution. Right. So this is how we do it, and we continue to evolve. As we speak right now, there will be a lot of solutions that will be coming up related to data, right? Because we realize how data, how powerful the data is, especially for B2B companies or even software developers like you to become successful. Right. So let me try to close this talk by saying that. So I would like to quote my favorite saying as always. This could be funny, but it says a lot that in God we trust, all others must bring data. So basically, we cannot depend on. So gone are the days that we depend everything on gut feel, right? Uh, Everything must be supported by data, especially nowadays that data is everywhere. Everything is available in the internet. But the question is, were you able to mine it properly so that you're able to use it? So even if, for example, you've heard a lot about AI, right? How AI, what AI does, what are the things? So it's a very sexy, it's a very sexy knowledge that we have to have. But at the end of the day, it's all about data. It evolves around data. So if you're not able to do it properly, then you will not be able to harness the full potential of artificial intelligence because it's all about getting the right data, training it with the right model, and being able to extract the right insight. So with that, so if you want further discussion, so we're always here. Feel free to scan the QR code and then yeah, we can do one-on-one sessions. I believe there will be another one-on-one session. Uh, so we can discuss more. All right. Yeah, so I think I have question in the chat in your e-learning platform. Client example. What are its right customers? What are the right consumer insights they need, and what are the examples of the right feedbacks that they receive? Okay, so at that time, because as you are aware, pandemic is so everything is up after pandemic. So basically, that customer just asked us, "What else I can do with my platform?" Because he felt that there might be some more customers that can still make use of my platform. Uh, so that's why I've said earlier, with our solution, they were able to do targeted campaign to those targeted customers because they're trying to get the most of whatever the platform can deliver. Okay, because it's accepted that it's going to die down because of everyone is going back to face, right? So we're able to help them in that aspect, right? So I hope I was able to answer your question. And then next is, how do you see AI impacting software development in the next 5 years? So so software development have a very good in terms of AI. So there will be a lot of opportunities. All right. So what is critical really is for software developers to be able to learn how to mine properly the data. Because right now, there are a lot of, so for example, in Python, there are a lot of algorithms that a lot of libraries right now that all you have to do is call it. But it's always a question of, were you able to put in the right data and train the system with the right data? Because at the end of the day, if you're not able to do it properly, with the correct data, do this because the hard part there is always the data mining, the data engineering, right? So that's where software developers will come in. So everything is available actually. So because we have open source, right? So Python, as we all know, is rich in libraries. So it's an exciting future for software developers like you, right? So you would be able to, that makes your life easy in terms of developing more AI solutions. But what is important is for you to understand how would I be able to extract and mine the right data that I will feed into my model.
Sir, I think we have one upvoted, very much upvoted question here for you.
Yeah.
Um, there's one, it's actually anonymous, but a lot of people upvoted the question. So, are there any privacy related concerns about tracking specific customers via GPS?
So we've studied that. So it went a lot of our legal discussion. So for as long as we're not tracking the specific person, so actually for footfall analytics that we have, the output that we give is basically the customer density, right? So we're not really tracking where the person is going to, eh, pinpointing to that. For as long as it doesn't pinpoint to a specific person, then there are no issues with regards to data privacy. So rest assured, this solution has been carefully studied by our legal. So we've taken note of that. So yeah, so that's a good question because that those were the questions that were raised as well as we developed the solution. So, but rest assured, for as long as the person is anonymized, then it should not be an issue. Because what we're trying to extract is basically the data. It's not aggregated data. Yeah. So for as long as
Actually,
it is aggregated and not pinpointed directly to the person, then it shouldn't be.
okay. But sir, the question actually has a further comment po. So including, so the question right was, are there any privacy related concerns about tracking specific customers via GPS, including affluence and or any personally identifiable or non-anonymous data?
Yep. So we've covered that as well. So yes, there will be if that data is associated with that person, meaning it's granular enough that you will almost identify who that person is. So again, going back, these attributes that come out are based on aggregated data. So you would not be able to identify who that person is. So it's basically looking after, okay, in this area, who are those person with this affluence, with this, so that you will have more targeted campaign. So in terms of statistics, you know where and who to, what to blast. For example, if you're doing an SMS blast, doing an SMS campaign, you will know what to target, right?
Mhm.
So, and you will be able to customize your content based on that target. But those are aggregated data. So for
All
as
right.
long as it is aggregated and not associated to a specific person, that's not classified as a PII. So that should be safe.
Okay, I hope that answered everyone's questions. That particular question from everyone, because like 21 people
Yeah.
upvoted that particular question, sir.
Yeah. So those are
Yeah,
the questions also commonly whenever we present to customers. Those
yeah.
are the common questions that come out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they
Another,
are carefully studied as well. So yeah. Go ahead.
thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for that answer. Another upvoted question here we have from Brent Miraz. How and when is user content for location tracking and usage requested?
How and when?
Yes, is user content for location tracking and usage requested?
So if I understand it, so I'll answer. So are you pertaining to a particular use case? I think it's a particular use case. So
Yeah, that probably.
normally, yeah. So number one, so we're not. So again, this is not intended solution is intended for uh, to come up with specific campaign in a particular location. Okay. So for example, if you're a restaurant owner, if you want to establish a new branch, instead of because this is a substitute to foot traffic analysis. Because remember when we do foot traffic, we have somebody there to stand and do the manual counting, right? Every day they do it and count. In here, using the GPS data, we would be able to, at an instant, identify at what type of day will there be a lot of foot traffic in that particular area. And then slice it further. Who are those? What are the composition of this foot traffic? So as you can see, these are aggregated data that comes out. So that for you, the insight would be, okay, if I'm establishing a restaurant, at what time would be practical, for example, for me to open? Diba? So you will open at a certain foot when the time that the foot traffic is high, for example. And then during this time, although I'm open, I will just reduce the number of staff that's running, right? So you will be able for example, to staff your restaurant dynamically because you would know the traffic that's coming in and out, the foot traffic, the probability that a lot of people will come into your restaurant, right? So for example, another use case is if you're trying to establish, for example, you were able to bought a franchise for a drugstore, and then there's a nearby drugstore. So what's the best possible location where I can have my new drugstore? And so from there, you would be able to study first, okay, what's the perimeter, where is it located, and where is it strategically located, so that I would be able to put up. And for example, if you identify that, okay, in this area, there are a lot of, for example, senior citizens that are possible customers, then I will establish my drugstore there so that it will be near my target market, for example, that are senior citizens, something like that. So as you can see, based on my sample use cases, those are aggregated traffic. Even the slices are aggregated already.
Mm. Okay. Thank you so much. I hope that answered your question, Brent. Another upvoted question here is actually this is kind of related to the first to that most upvoted questions here, but are there any related complaints or feedbacks so far? Example, after the SIM card registration, there are still unknown numbers sending links.
With respect to number one, if the SIMs are unregistered, most likely they will not be part of. Uh, so I'm talking about this solution only. I'm not talking for Globe in general. Alright, so I'm talking about this particular solution. They won't be the likelihood that they won't be part of this solution because they are unregistered. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, so there are separate. So if it is a Globe number, of course, we are tracking those unregistered numbers, and supposed to be they should be terminated already. Okay, so that shouldn't be an issue because there's a separate team who's working on that, tracking on that.
Mm-hmm.
But in as far as the solution is concerned, these unregistered numbers will not be uh, included to that population. But by now, it shouldn't be an issue because they will be the unregistered SIM cards are those that are uh, prepaid, right? So most likely
Mm,
they should be terminated already.
okay. Thank
Okay.
you. I hope that answered your question. We have another question here is Actually, I have two kind of related questions, so I'm just gonna um bring this up together. So, in your e-learning platform client example, what
Mm.
are its right customers? What are the right consumer insights they needed? And what are examples of right feedbacks they received, if
Okay.
possible?
Yeah. So in the e-learning example, so basically the right customers that were identified at that time were those customers that are still on hybrid, because there are
Mm.
schools that still did hybrid sessions, right? So for example, uh, 4 days in, 4 days face to face, and 1 day hybrid. So those customers were retained. And then sample of customer feedbacks.
Mhm.
Well, actually, um, for this solution, what the output of this solution is basically as I've shown are the attributes, not more of the customer feedback. So based on the attributes that were shown, okay, based on the attributes that were identified, we were able to target the specific needs of the customers, not more on the because this is kind of one way. So what it returns to you is the dashboard. The dashboard contains the different types of attributes there. But what's good in here is that they were able to target the right customer and send them the right, the right ad that encourage them to, retain their usage, for example, something like that. So basically, these tools, as you can see, is not the main, diba? So at the end of the
Mm-mm.
day, if you're a company, these are complementing tools to whatever you have. Okay, so this will guide you to target properly, but not to release an ad, because there are other platforms that, for example, in Globe that I showed you earlier, that we can use to be able to do that. That's why I
Mhm.
showed you the wheel. So the wheel contains the different ecosystems. So after, for example, the story there would be, after you were able to identify the customer, then we can stitch it, for example, to our ad tech platform that you can use
Mhm.
to be able to release your ad. But at least, for example, if we do SMS blasting, you will not do waste your money blast to everyone. So
Mm-mm.
that's the intent. It becomes more targeted so that it creates more efficiency for the
Mm.
company.
Yeah. So I think that also answers Armando's question on how do you determine the type of target audience. No, it also covers
Yeah,
that question.
yeah.
So let's move on to our next question
To add
from
lang, no, to
Michelle.
add lang, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, sir.
The type of
Go
audience, so
ahead.
that's a good that's a good catch. So basically what happens there is that from the customer data that we have, all right. So we
Mhm.
mine those. We mine those, and then we subject it to the machine learning model that we built. And then from that machine learning model, we were able to, because in machine learning there are a lot of output that we can do. We can do classification, we can do so a lot, the regression and all of that. But this particular thing is more of the classification, being able to classify properly, right, based on the different parameters that we set. So I'm speaking in the language of the software developers. So, yeah, but that's a good question.
Mhm. Yes, sir. Since you mentioned mining, and we actually have one question here from Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
How are you able to mine user data?
Hmm. Uh, okay. I'll put it in a more generic way because it's something that's I cannot provide you
Confidential.
the details,
Yeah,
but
something confidential.
yeah, something confidential, and that's part of the intellectual property. But basically, because the customer data involves a lot, so these are unstructured data. Okay, so I'll just give you the concept, the high level concept that we do. all right, whenever we mine. So it's a generic one. But I will not learn you the specifics because it's something that's part of the intellectual property. But in general, what we do is that what's being done whenever you mine it is that um, so from unstructured data, so the usual, di ba? You identify the data, you do some exploratory data analysis so that you would know what type of data that we have, right? And then from that type of data that you have, once you have identified it, you would be able to translate it as much as the intent there is translate it and make it structured so that at the end of it, you'll be able to convert it properly and being able to identify the right rows and column. Because at the end of the day, if it is unstructured data, your intent is so that it will be something that's usable to your model. You should be able uh, to, to translate it properly, clean it, do the data cleansing, remove uh, the unnecessary, uh, the unnecessary rows, uh, translate it to a column, and then fill in the blanks. Diba? So normally in a data, you know how messy our data is, especially if it is coming from the internet, for example. Uh, you have to make it as structured as possible, right? So there are a lot of ways we can do uh, regex, the famous one, the regular expressions, for example. You can do that to be able to mine the data. Uh, and of course, identify if there are APIs that you have to connect to. Yeah, you have to identify that. And hopefully, it permits you, it allows you to connect to. But since in our case, we're allowed to, so we have agreements with them that we can do it. So there, but I cannot, sorry, Michelle, I cannot divulge the specifics. But that's the generic flow on how we do it. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, I hope you, Sir Carl Marx is still able to answer your question,
But I can
Michelle.
teach you how to do it. We can do one-on-one session about it.
Uh, okay. So another question we have here actually is what ethical consideration should be taken into account when using data to drive innovation and target audiences?
Okay, so that's a good question. So, of course, whenever we use data, okay, so number one, uh, one one thing that we have to consider is there has to be a permission from the customer. Okay, so like in this case, in our case, even if it is an aggregated data, all of these customers opted in. All right, meaning opted in. When I said opted in, they allow us to extract their data, mine it, and being able to use it for purposes like this. All right. Number two, you have to make sure, especially if you're maintaining a customer data, it's part of your commitment to your customer to protect it. That's why, uh, in our case, no, along with whenever we do data and analytics, what comes with it is cybersecurity, right? Because it's part of our commitment and our promise to our customer is their data is safe with us. It won't leak. It is protected. Okay. And of course, the ethical consideration is no, you don't divulge. Okay, whatever you have, because uh, those data are precious. For example, if you're working for a hospital, you're maintaining a patient data, you are not allowed to divulge it. And of course, if you're not the one using it, you are not authorized or you are not supposed to look at it. If you're, for example, if you're trying to access a patient data or any data for that matter, you don't open up something that's not intended for you. So basic lang yun eh, parang it's like, di ba, letter. If you receive something, an envelope, a letter that's not addressed to you, you're not supposed to open it. So that's the basic ethical consideration for data. So it's the authorized access. That's one of the things that everyone should observe because it's privacy, with or without law. That's part of ethics. Okay. Uh, and then, of course, the access. So number one, and then number two, the disclosure. You're not supposed to disclose it. Okay. Especially if it is something to do that will point directly to that person. So those are the things that that we strictly observe whenever so that's why we're very strict because at the end of the day uh, we maintain we maintain a very high integrity and the cost we live under the customer's trust, and this is our commitment to our customers. Okay, so I hope I was able to answer that.
Thank you, sir. So another question is, how do you strike the balance between cost and data durability? So retention policy, HA, do you fully leverage cloud or use hybrid infra?
Yeah, so that's a very good question again. So in our case, um, for data, so in Globe in general, our infra is hybrid. So it depends. So basically, whenever we talk to customers, it depends on the business case. It depends on the use case. That's why what we do normally, especially in solutions like this, we do customer conversation. So we don't dive in direct. Okay, we don't dive in direct. So there's no uh, specific right or wrong answer in this one. Because of course, with regards to retention policy, it depends on the company's policy, right? And if there are regulations that covers it. For example, I'm not sure if in banks around 10 years yata yung retention. So it depends on the industry as well, on the regulation on that industry, that retention policy. The high availability rin, so again, of course, in Globe, we have a very, very high availability because we're a service provider. But in other industries, it depends on their budget. It depends on their, I don't want to call it their budget, but of course on their priority and their risk acceptance. Okay, so number one, the retention policy would depend on, of course, the regulation and as well as their business rules. So how long are they willing to keep the data for their customers? So it depends on the business strategy. High availability is also the same, subject on the risk acceptance. And then leverage of cloud. So yes, the answer is yes. But right now in Globe, so it depends. So we use a hybrid setup. Some customers right now also do the same. Because at the end of the day, we always try to find, in terms of infra, the sweet spot between cloud, using cloud, and infra, the one with the connectivity. So whenever we talk to the customer, it's very important that we talk about what's your business strategy first, and then we identify, okay, from that business strategy, we try to pinpoint, okay, what are your priorities, and then from there, that's how we create the architecture, and then the type of solution. So as you can see, the solution comes in at the last, and then the products, of course. But what's critical here, whenever, so I suggest whenever you talk to the customers, because at one point I know you have your own customers as well. My suggestion to you as your consultant is, uh, because there's no hard and fast rule really to answer this question, but this is a very nice question. You start with, okay, customer, what's your strategy? You need to share to me what's your strategy so that I would be able to map it properly. Because from there, you would be able to answer the retention policy. It automatically comes out. Versus starting with, okay, you start with hybrid because this is based on what we read. hybrid is a good solution. Or for example, leverage on cloud because cloud is cheaper. You save on capex. But hey, what about your opex? If the customer asks you that, so your capex will be saved, but your opex. So it depends. It really depends on the business direction that the customer will take. Right? And of course, the retention policy. How long? Because the retention policy, there's also an expense to that because you have to maintain a certain storage, and you are going to pay for that, whether that's on cloud or you have a server. Because at the end of the day, you have to maintain your server as well, and there's an expense associated to that. So it really depends on the overall business strategy and the rules and the process that's established around it. So there. Hope I was
All right,
able to.
Maron, I hope that answered your question. Sir, unfortunately we're running out of time, but there's
Yeah,
still a lot of questions here in our Q&A tab actually. So I think we'll just go with one last question.
sure.
And then I'll advise the rest of those who are asking questions to just approach you to your booth later on. So our last question is from Chris Manalastas. How does lookalike modeling work to find new customers? Is it similar to algorithms used in social media?
Yeah. So the lookalike customers is that it's just simple, no? So what we do is that the customer or the our B2B customer will try to identify what are the attributes that you want. So actually, it's pretty much straightforward. So actually, the one in social media is much, but yeah, it's almost the same actually. Wherein what are the attributes? So identify the different attributes, and then from that attribute, so basically, it's still a classification algorithm. Okay, but it works the other way around because you identify the attributes, and that from that attributes, we will match from our huge data, okay, customer data. They will try to match who are those that have the same attribute, and it will return those specific numbers of customers with that particular attribute. So, but of course, we will not divulge who what are the numbers. Okay. So there, but I think yeah, it's almost similar the way we identify it in social media. It's a classification, sort of a classification algorithm. You're correct.
Okay. Thank you once again, sir. Thank you so much for answering our questions. There are still a lot, as I mentioned, and I hope our attendees would find the time to visit your booth later
Yeah,
on.
sure.
Yeah, to approach you and ask their questions personally. So once again, thank you once again to everyone and to you, Sir Karl Marx, for joining us this
Yeah,
morning.
it's an
And
honor. Yeah, it's an honor for me
yes.
to join.
Again, let's thank Sir Karl Marx by clicking on the heart and clapping
Yeah, thank
emojis,
you.
everyone. Once again, thank you. And please, to our attendees, please exit this session and click on your next session that you will be joining. Bye.
Thanks.